And now, for fans of the most exciting sport in the world, the MMA Live Chat Hour. Listen up and find out what's happening in the world of MMA. Hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Hour. I'm Rich Davie and it's Thursday, January 16th, 2014, the day after the UFC Fight Night 35 Rockhold vs. Philippou event. On today's show we'll be discussing the UFC Fight Night 35 Rockhold vs. Philippou event, our predictions for the event, and if we have time for the final thoughts segment, we'll speak about GSP's most recent comments about why he decided to retire. On today's show we have yours truly, Wes Fiorentino, Damon Gazelle, and Sugar Pooper. Thanks for joining me on another show, guys. I appreciate you all taking the time to be here and joining me for another MMA discussion. Go ahead and say hello to anybody that might be listening.
Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight?
How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Okay, thanks for showing up again, guys. Let's jump right into things here. We're going to be a little short on time today. We'll get to how we did in round one of our fight predictions, but first let's go over how we score the fights, recapping the scoring system. If you pick the correct fighter but don't get the correct method around, you earn 4 points. If you pick the correct fighter and method, or the correct fighter and round, you earn 7 points. If you pick the correct fighter, round, or method, or correctly call the winner by decision, you earn 10 points. Here's how things are looking after the first round of predictions. First place, Rich Davie went 5-2 for 41. Second place, Damon Gazelle went 4-3 for 31 points. Third place, Wes Fiorentino went 4-3 with 28 points. Fourth place, David Petruic went 3-4 for 24 points. We got Sugar Pooper on the show today. He didn't join us on the first show, but we'll get him in on the next round of predictions. Let's get started with Fight Night 35 Rockhold versus Philippou event. And the main card, the main event, was, of course, Rockhold versus Philippou. Rockhold earned knockout of the night and a $50,000 bonus for his unexpected TKO of Philippou. What did you guys think of that one?
That was nuts, man. That kick was vicious. You know, I mean, I didn't expect it coming in, but I can't say I'm surprised either.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either, but those liver shots, that's going to end somebody's night pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree. It was amazing, but I kind of felt like 30 seconds right before the finish, I kind of felt like Rockhold definitely had an advantage on the feet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he definitely looked a lot better than Philippou.
Yeah, it looked better than I thought he might. I didn't think he was going to go that route.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, he looks really comfortable with his range and his timing, which is something I expected. But man, those liver kicks, you know, you get one of those in the right place and it'll be over quick.
Oh yeah. When Philippou took that shot, he was just like, "That's it." You know,
yeah.
You pretty much could see he was done right then and there.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. I think after the Belfort fight, Rockhold wanted to prove something, and he did.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. I mean, I was shocked. I think I actually got up to get something to drink, and when I came back to the TV, boom, it was over.
You gotta love when that happens.
So, yeah, what else? What other comments you guys have on that one?
I mean, as far as him calling out Bisping, it seems like there's like 4 different guys calling out Bisping as of late. But that's a matchup I want to see for Bisping. I think Kennedy. I don't think he could get Bisping yet, personally.
After last night, no, definitely not. I mean, obviously, calling out Michael Bisping these days is a popular trend for up-and-coming middleweights. And yeah, I mean, after that performance by Luke Rockhold, I got to say I'd rather see him fight Michael Bisping at this point than Tim Kennedy, especially when you consider the fact that Luke Rockhold beat Tim Kennedy pretty handily.
And
back
they're
in the
ranked
strike
5 and
force.
6, aren't they? Bisping and Rockhold.
Yep.
So that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And Bisping,
Yeah, it definitely does.
Bisping would definitely be a good fight. He's really hard to take down, and he's got great striking
Definitely.
as well. And so I see it as a stand-up match, and I think Rocco would probably take that one actually.
I wouldn't be surprised if Luke took it, but it's hard for me to call that fight right now. I'd love to see it. Bisping is definitely a little bit more of a complete fighter than Philippou. Um, with his range and his timing, I actually see it being sort of a very tactical striking match between the
Yeah.
two of them, to say nothing of the grappling.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of odd because, Bisping is the kind of guy who, and I know people give me shit every time I say this, but in my opinion, Bisping is the kind of guy who likes to fight going backwards like most of those British fighters do. I'm not saying MMA fighters, but boxers primarily. And
Yeah, I mean, he used to move straight back a lot, which he caught a lot of flack for, especially after high-profile knockout loss to Henderson. That was one comment that I think Joe Rogan made during the fight before the big knockout. And it's something I noticed with his fights. Vanderlei Silva, obviously the big knockdown in the last round, and even a little bit in his fight with Akiyama, I noticed that he was going straight backwards. But when he really starts to circle out, I think that's when he really excels. I mean, I guess you could still say that's moving backwards, but I think it's moving backwards with a little bit more of a mind for getting a feel for your opponent's timing, which is why I think he's probably a better matchup than maybe Philippou was for Rockhold.
Well, wasn't Bisping and Rocco both knocked out by Belfort's head kicks?
Yeah.
yeah,
So that makes a good matchup. Right there is
And
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
the two of
Battle
them.
of the head
Whoever
kick
wins,
KOs.
yeah, whoever wins out of them two should fight Belfort after we see who wins between Belfort and Weidman.
Yeah, right. Forget a
yeah,
title fight. You get the rematch. Fight for the rematch with Belfort, which
Yeah,
might even be a title fight given Vitor's circumstances right now.
yeah, you never know.
yeah.
He's looking amazing once he put that into his arsenal. That the TRT. I
While we're
think
on
he's
the
always had
topic
the
of
TRT.
Yeah, right.
while
what do
we're
you
on the
like in
topic
that
of
one, Sugar?
Belfort, I love the fact that Rockhold, seconds after the finish, he goes up to the camera and's like, "I want Belfort." I fucking love that moment because he's thinking of Vitor.
Oh,
Yeah, I
You
don't
guys
absolutely.
think
notice
I
that?
think they'll get Bisping before Belfort, though. No.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine so. I mean, let's be honest. Hopefully, he's not thinking of Belfort when he's fighting Bisping, because I mean, say whatever you want about Michael Bisping, but he's not the kind of guy you want to look past.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we should go ahead and tell everybody, in case they didn't see the fight. Luke Rockhold won that one by TKO due to a body kick in round one at 231. But I thought I saw something where there were some comments where they were saying that it was actually a submission due to strikes. Did you guys hear anything about that?
I
Well,
haven't
yeah.
seen
Well, I mean, you could see. You saw when Philippou went down. He wanted no more.
Was
I
he
mean, I
tapping
guess.
though, or was it a stoppage by the ref?
Give me 1 second, and I'll get right back to you on that.
No, it probably more than likely was a submission because the way he went down, he probably did say something about no more.
Yeah,
He,
because
he
right after the fight, I went and I looked at a couple sites, and a couple of the sites were saying that it was a TKO, but then another site was saying that it was a submission to strike. So
Yeah, so the play-by-play on SureDog says TKO body kick. I mean, I guess in these situations sometimes it's a fine line. I mean, I guess it's maybe sometimes it comes down to the technicality of, did he tap the strikes, which I don't think he actually tapped, but it certainly looked like he may have
it would have been
waved his hand a
verbal.
little bit. I should probably go watch the end of the fight over again at some point.
yeah,
It's
I
more,
actually thought it was a stoppage by the ref.
yeah,
Well, the ref definitely stepped in, yeah.
it more than likely would have been a verbal tap out if he wouldn't have tapped. He wouldn't have tapped. He would have verbally said no more.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're grabbing your body, when your torso area like that after a body kick, you go down like that, that look of excruciating pain in your face. It's only a matter of time before the ref steps in. Most of the time, Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis comes to mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I did get a message from David. He did say that he was ready to go and he wanted to join us, so I told him just go ahead and join in whenever he gets the chance to.
Oh, good.
All right, so let's recap that one there. Wes went with Rockhold by decision, as well as Damon, as well as David, and I went with Rockhold by decision as well. Not sure how Sugar.
Yeah, Rockhold by decision.
Okay, I didn't get your picks in here because we didn't get you on the last show when we did the prediction show. I saw you tried to chime in on the last show, but you logged right back out.
Yeah, I just figured why join in 40 minutes in.
Yeah, we actually started 30 minutes late, so wouldn't have been all that bad.
Yeah, there's always shows that people come in late.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Another voice is always greater.
Yeah. If I send you the link, man, you're always welcome to pop in anytime, you know.
Cool.
All right, so that was 4 points for each of us there on that one. Any other comments on that one, guys?
Well, just would say, welcome to the UFC, Rockhold. That time.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he's going to do next, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually called out both Belfort and Bisping. He called out Belfort in the octagon, and then he called out Bisping in the post-fight, right? Presser?
Yeah.
Well, he said, if I can't get to Belfort because of the title shot, I'd be happy to go through Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Which I think most guys at the top tier of the middleweight division kind of agree with, and some guys below it.
Yeah, it's kind of better to have a couple fights in between a loss to another guy, anyways. Just because Belfort is #1 contender, and there's.
And the Mikey fight is the one that makes sense.
It does, really.
It certainly does at this point in time.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Lorenz Larkin versus Brad Tavares.
Oh,
and
man.
with all that hemming and hawing that we did trying to change Damon's mind, he was the only one that actually got that one right.
I picked Tavares as well.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I don't have your picks in front of me here, but just to recap that fight there, Brad Tavares wins by unanimous decision with the scorecards reading 29-28, 29-28, and 29-28. All three judges saw it the same way. I scored it the same way as well, so I was a little surprised.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I guess Tavares had a game plan going in there because in the post-fight presser he said, they noticed that when the pressure was put on Larkin, he didn't perform quite as well. So that seemed to be his game plan, and he followed it through, and it worked for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say, and you got to remember, Tavares has been on a 4-fight winning streak, and like I said, he's been looking better and better each fight. So I had no hesitation in picking him over Larkin.
Just but he was actually fighting guys that were ranked, 15 or below, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But the thing is the way he was doing it. I mean, he just, even if he was getting decisions, the way he was doing it, he's staying in there, he's moving, he was looking great, and I think he's going to be going up and keep going up. I don't think he's actually going to become a champ anytime soon, but I definitely think he's going to be a contender for the division.
Hey, David, welcome to the show, buddy. We already went through the first fight, the main event. We're on fight number 2, Lorenz Larkin versus Brad Tavares. So we're just speaking about how Damon actually was the only one to pick that right. Sugar is with us today, and he also apparently went with Tavares. Can you hear us?
Yeah, about a minute and a half into that fight, I was thinking, oh man, I kind of wish I could change my pick, because man, right from the opening bell, pretty much it seemed like Lorenz Larkin was getting backed up with strikes.
Yeah, you were saying that to me on Facebook when we were chatting back and forth through Facebook.
Yeah, I mean Tavares was standing in the pocket. He was throwing powerful strikes. He looked bigger, stronger, faster. And he was countering well. It was just whoops.
Yeah, but wasn't it the third round? Was that the fight where in the third round he all of a sudden just looked like he wasn't there? Was that the fight?
It looked like he was about to get the elbows. It was kind of weird. He was just kind of sitting there like committing to a takedown that wasn't there and catching elbows to the side of the head. Travis Brown style.
Yeah.
Maybe he was a little gassed. Who knows?
No, it wasn't Travis Brown style. I don't think he was
Not
blocking
quite.
it.
He didn't get knocked out.
He wasn't down as far around the legs. So Larkin didn't have the leverage that Brown was having when he was doing those elbows. If he would have had those leverage, he would have ended that fight.
Most likely. I mean, I think that the announcers were starting to jump the gun there anyway,
Yeah,
saying, "Oh, he's got to get out of this position." But definitely seemed like maybe Tavares was running out a little bit of a gas. He definitely looked a little bit more muscular than Lorenz Larkin, which a lot of times that can lead to exhaustion in your muscles, exhaustion in your limbs.
Yeah, exactly. That seemed like to be the case in that other fight that we'll talk about later too, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it wasn't like it was like a blowout third round for Lorenz Larkin, though. It wasn't. I didn't think at any time that Tavares was in trouble of getting stopped.
Yeah.
Now, I think Tavares also was. He wasn't getting hurt really bad. He was blocking it, and he was just playing the game and running the time out to get the victory.
Well, that would have been stupid, because if he was just wasting time, he got caught.
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't feel like he was in any danger, I mean, how often do you see fighters hold another fighter up against the fence for a while? If he felt he was in danger, I think he would have actually tried to do more than just cover up. He had him pushed.
Yeah.
He had him pushed against the fence. Just push off.
I don't know what the stats and the numbers were in that round as far as punches and strikes go, but he definitely did not look good in that round, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so. But I do agree that I think the fight was, short of a late round stoppage. I thought the fight was pretty much in the bag for Tavares at that point.
Yeah.
You always want to avoid the third round hiccup. But
hey, David.
Yeah.
David, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Jump in anytime you want here.
Enjoying my new Canadian-sized UFC beer here. So they finally made one that's Canada-sized. So it's a beaut.
That looks like a double Foster's oil can.
Basically. But good to hear y'all, gentlemen.
Good to hear you.
If I have to jump in, I will. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, any other comments on this fight here?
Yeah. I picked Tavares because I've kind of referred to him as the dark horse of the middleweight division. I mean, this guy with this victory, he's 7-1 in the middleweight division. So the chances of him getting a top 10 opponent next are highly likely to happen.
Oh yeah, Larkin was ranked number 13, so he beat Larkin at 13, so he should get a top 10 guy next.
Yeah, he's been on a quiet run, and there's definitely something to be said for a guy who with every fight he seems to be improving, right? I mean, did anyone think he was going to come out here and outstrike the striker in Lorenz Larkin? I mean, I certainly didn't.
I knew he was going to grind with him. I didn't. I thought more wrestling, but I knew he was going to still strike
me too.
with him.
Yeah.
I knew he was
didn't
going to
expect him
still
to stand
strike.
in the pocket.
Not the whole time. He was going for takedowns.
Yeah.
Not as successful there, but he's been a grinder, and that's what I like. Those type of fighters that grind for the whole fight, or they tend to do well.
Okay, let's wrap that one up. As far as the scoring goes, Wes, David, and I all went with Larkin by decision. We earned 0 points. Damon was the only one to go with Tavares by decision. He got 10. And again, Sugar. How did you go, Sugar?
Tavares decision.
Yeah. So 2 of you fellas picked Tavares. So good on you guys.
Nice pick.
Okay, moving on. This was a pretty interesting fight. T.J. Dillashaw versus Mike Easton. Dillashaw won by unanimous decision, with all 3 judges scoring the fight 30-27. And basically, it was an MMA clinic by Dillashaw, and he just picked Easton apart throughout the entire fight. What did you guys think of that one?
Really impressive performance by Dillashaw. I mean, Mike Easton's always game. I think we all know that. But, he was in there throwing really crisp, powerful, vicious boxing combinations, Obviously, his kicks were a factor. They showed the one kick to the head a couple times on the replay. And, he just never let up. He was getting takedowns, ground and pound, out-grappling him.
It was constant action. If it wasn't fists flying, it was legs flying, or it was combos of fists and legs.
Yeah, exactly, just vicious onslaught. He kept going forward. He never really let Easton get into a rhythm. That's what I like to see, and I think that's pretty characteristic of his teammates over there at Alpha Male as well. Just kind of moving forward, not afraid to throw some really vicious strikes. Some creative strikes, some head kicks.
Yeah, in the post-fight presser, he credited what's his name, Dwayne Bang Ludwig for.
Yeah, they announced him as a Bang Muay Thai fighter. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Well, Dana White's saying Ludwig should be Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I mean he's got that team on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what when I was talking about the fight previous, that's basically what I'd seen or what I'd foreseen for the matchup to happen. So.
Definitely. I mean, obviously I picked Dillashaw to win, but yeah, he really impressed me with his boxing combinations in particular. Just uppercuts, hooks, nice straight punches. Just and obviously 135, we're going to see some fast combinations. But man, that was nuts.
Yeah, like I had said in the prediction show, he's probably the best looking fighter coming out of Tough in a while. I think he actually could one day become champion of the division.
Any of you guys know what he's ranked?
I'm not sure.
He's probably
UFC rankings. I couldn't say.
I think he's outside the top 10.
No, I'm thinking he's inside actually. I thought he was high ranked inside the 10. Maybe if one of us could check right away.
I mean, worldwide, I would imagine he's got to be top 10 at this point.
Yeah. I could have swore I saw even in the top 5.
He's not top 10 with that performance.
Oh, he's 6.
Probably
he's 6.
should be.
6. Okay, yeah.
That sounds about right. With Dominic Cruz going out, especially now,
Yeah.
you could argue that division's wide open after the Faber Sabral. Pardon me, Sabral.
Okay, sure. You got any comments on that one?
Yeah, I picked Dillashaw by decision. I knew he was going to dominate Easton, but Easton has shown to be an extremely durable fighter in his UFC career, but he can't seem to pull the trigger is his problem.
Yeah, I
agree with that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, guys like Dillashaw that come forward, not afraid to stand in the pocket and exchange with him. They seem to really hold him, at bay, so to speak.
Yeah, Easton also complained about an eye scratch earlier on and said that affected his performance. I don't know the validity in it.
What is this with all the fucking excuses by fighters?
That's what I was just about to draw attention to. As anybody that's making an excuse, and I fail to see validity in it, and I think it just kind of goes to show where he's at in his career. So.
Yeah, you saw him paw at his eye a few times there. I want to say it was in the second round, but it might have been in the first round.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It looked like he was waiting for the ref to give him a break.
Yeah, fighters usually do that to say, "Hey, ref, I got poked in the eye" or whatever. But after that round, there's no excuse as far as I'm concerned. I mean, in this day and age, as an MMA fighter, you have to be ready for that. It always goes back to the classic GSP getting poked in the eye by BJ Penn in their first fight. I saw 2 BJ Penns, and look what happened. He came out with a W. So. Get over it.
Okay, let's recap that one there. Wes went with Dillashaw by decision. So did Damon. So did David. So did I. And apparently so did Sugar. All right, so we all got 10 points on that one. Any other comments on that one, guys?
I think Dillashaw, the way you see how he mixes up everything is what it makes him so exciting, and I look for good things for him in the future.
Yeah, is that 6 of his last 7 that he's won now?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
He made a big deal about it. Yeah.
6 of his last 7 against game opponents. So, yeah, stock is in his favor for sure.
And his only loss was in those 6 of the last 7 was a split decision too. So.
The Sunset fight, yeah. He said after the fight, "Oh no, I'm on a 6-fight winning streak. I won that last fight."
He did.
Yeah. That's why.
Right. That's right.
A lot of times a loss like that almost helps you, like the Shogun Machida fight, the first one.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Derek Brunson versus Yoel Romero, and that matchup earned Fight of the Night and $50,000 for both fighters. Yoel Romero won that one by TKO due to strikes in round 3 at 3:23. And man, that was an exciting fight. And I thought, as well as a lot of other people, that Romero actually came from behind to take the win on that one. And I also understand from the post-fight presser that Brunson may have a broken jaw, but haven't heard anything further on that. What have you guys heard anything? Or what did you think about the fight?
He went to surgery to get, or went to the hospital to get surgery.
So it was a broken jaw.
Yes.
Did you guys see his mouthpiece fall off?
No, I didn't.
I did see that actually. Yeah.
they were talking about the mouthpiece coming out. It might have been his jaw. Who knows? But but they were talking about the mouthpiece was out when he was on the ground getting pounded.
I did see that. Yeah, but I didn't.
He lost it before he went down, or
yeah, like 20 seconds before the whole barrage started, he freaking lost his mouthpiece.
Yeah, he may have a broken jaw then. That wouldn't surprise me. That's one sign for sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely the fight was in his favor coming into that third round, you know. He was backing Romero up. He's getting the better of the exchanges, which I thought was impressive. Generally controlling the pace and the position of the fight, but man, yeah, looked like he pretty much gasped there in the third round.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, I think it might have been because of all that muscle mass that he's carrying.
Well, Romero's got a lot too.
Though. Yeah, he had a second win there in that third round, and man, did he put it on Brunson there to get the win.
Yeah. And did he take some shots as well?
That could have been an ad for TRT, both those guys.
You think so?
Yeah, right.
Either one of them had a problem with that?
No, I just with the topic of TRT being so prevalent in the UFC right now, it was kind of being made a joke of.
You got to remember, Romero is also an Olympic silver medalist too, though. So.
Oh yeah. Didn't look like it in the first 2 rounds, though.
No.
I think Kenny Florian called him the best wrestler to step inside the octagon. I think that's legitimate, but it's kind of like over-exaggerated.
I'd say that's a classic, like Joe Rogan.
A bold statement.
Exaggeration.
Yeah.
Until he
that's
shows
a bold statement.
Yeah, until he shows that in the octagon, I think that kind of comment is. Yeah, maybe on paper, on having a silver medalist, being a silver medalist and everything like that, but
just say that speaks for itself.
And they like to hype the fighter too, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he got taken down by Brunson 3 times, and also got mounted.
At least 3 times, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, you know, there's a tendency to overreact to some of the fighters' past, you know, achievements. We've heard, you know, how many times we've heard that before. You know, Machida karate. This is the Machida era, or you know, Jimmy Mai's jiu-jitsu. You know.
But I mean, as far as Romero goes, I'm a fan of this dude. 3 finishes and 3 UFC wins. This guy is going to the top for sure.
It's a tough guy. Tough guy for sure.
Isn't that his 4th?
He's 3 finishes, 3 UFC wins. I'm pretty sure.
I could have swore it was his 4th.
He beat Clifford Starks and the Brazilian guy. Ronnie Marks, and then this guy, Derek Brunson.
Okay. All right, yeah, it might have been his 3rd fight.
But I mean, he's gonna get like a Brad Tavares maybe next.
That's a fight I'd watch for sure. Sort of makes sense.
Are they close in the rankings, those two?
I don't think Romero's in the top 15, but I think Tavares probably is now.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, I wouldn't be.
You know, he looked awesome last night.
Would you guys scoff at a Tavares Tim Kennedy matchup after this? Something like that?
No.
That I don't think Kennedy wants that, but I'd go for that.
It's not always about what he wants, you know.
Yeah, he's been calling out pretty much everyone in the top 10. That's why I'm saying that.
Yeah, he's been looking for a fight with anybody, trolling everybody on Twitter.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do a little bit more than that, if you ask me.
Yeah. I guess he's trying to Chael Sonnen route.
Yeah, well, it works for Chael, that's for sure.
and looking a lot more foolish.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like his brand of trash talk, but
he's got in that Twitter war, he's got everyone against him. He's kind of the laughing stock in it, so.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him, to be completely honest.
I didn't think he was actually going to be UFC material, and I heard a lot of flack from people for saying that when he came over, but
I don't know about that.
think?
I mean, not top tier. I don't think he's going to be a champion anytime soon. I don't think he beats Michael Bisping if he ever gets that matchup. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And even based on, I don't think he gets past Brett Tavares based on what I saw last night.
But I mean, to finish Natal how he did and to demolish the Gracie, I think he deserves to be in the UFC.
Yeah, I just thought that. Yeah, I just thought that wasn't going to be the situation when he came over because he came over from the Strike Force, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just didn't think he was all that special in Strike Force.
UFC needs card space, man.
Well, he's beat Robbie Lawler, so.
Yeah. You think that would happen again, though? I mean, I would think that was an off night for Lawler.
I would think so too, and I would think Lawler's fight against Lorenz Larkin would be a different outcome too in a rematch.
Yeah.
The thing about that though is he's a welterweight, so.
Are you looking for a fight with someone here or what?
No, like Lawler's a welterweight, so the middleweight losses, they're kind of like, do you guys really count them nowadays?
I mean, they're both cutting weight to get to that weight class, anyways. I mean, I think it's a fair matchup, even if it is somebody dropping down. If you drop more weight, the more weight you drop, the worse off you're actually going to be in the fight, because dropping 20, 30 pounds, I don't think 30 is pretty almost impossible to do, but dropping 20 pounds and putting it back on overnight, that puts a lot of strain on a fighter.
Oh yeah.
Ton of strain on your body. I mean, you got to. I mean, a 20-pound cut, it's doable for a lot of guys, but you have to time it right. You got to do it over the course of a whole training camp, if not longer than that. These guys cutting 10 pounds before fight night, it's just not going to work. Look at the Anthony Johnsons and Thiago Alves's of the world.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let me just wrap that one up there. Wes went with Brunson by decision, 0 points. Damon went with Romero by TKO on 2, 7 points. David went with Brunson by decision, 0 points. I went with Romero by TKO on 2 for 7 points. And Sugar, how did you go?
I went with Romero TKO. No, I went with Romero decision. I'm sorry.
Okay. That would have been 4 points, I believe. Is that right?
Decision? I got it wrong, so it would be through. I don't know.
You got the right fighter, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been 4 points. Okay, moving on to the next one. I'm sorry, guys, but I screwed up the card when we did the prediction show because I went to an unnamed website who was a big name in the industry, but they don't like people to take information from their site. So I typically go there and I pull off the main card fight and I enter that information for the show when I write up the show. They had the main card wrong, and they had this next fight, John Moraga versus Dustin Ortiz, on the undercard, and they had the Brenneman Dariush on the main card. So sorry about that, I screwed it up, but I got my information from a bad source apparently.
Yeah, that had me confused when that was announced for that show. And I'm like, I just looked on the UFC website and Brenneman's on the Fight Pass card.
Well, if that ever happens again, just let me know, guys, because like we were
Yeah.
saying on the last show, not all the websites are all up to date on all the information and the fighters and the cards and the weights and everything like that. So I'm not averse to being corrected.
We got to see Dariush and Brenneman anyway, though.
I mean, the result for me would have been the same because I picked the wrong guy to win on that fight anyway. So.
Yeah.
So,
Didn't we all went with Ortiz, didn't we?
We actually did that as an afterthought on the show.
Yeah.
But that one, Moraga won that one by split decision with the scorecards reading 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28. Wes chose Ortiz, Damon chose Ortiz, David chose Ortiz. They all got 0 points. And I went with Moraga by decision for 10 points. So me being difficult got me 10 points on that one, guys.
There you go.
What did you guys think of that one?
I didn't see it, unfortunately.
Oh, it was a good fight, man.
Yeah, I
I'm
wish
sure
I
it
would
was.
have been able to see it. I had pressing family matters though, so I was
Did you
never.
watch it, Damon?
No, my mother had surgery and I was actually up at the hospital until
Oh, okay.
I didn't get home till around 7 to catch the Romero
And the
and
good
on
news is
from
that
there.
everything went all right with the surgery
Yeah.
and it was successful, correct?
Yep. And
That's
she's
good
been
news.
released.
Very good news.
Glad to hear that.
Did you get
Thank
to
you.
watch it, David?
Myself, just highlights. I was at a bar that was a terrible situation, actually.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
I was
It was
tweeting
just,
and Facebooking and
yeah.
everybody last night, which is why I didn't get to see every single aspect. But yeah, I
It
was
was
going back and
it
forth
was a
Facebook with
nightmare,
Wes
and yeah, bad night for me. And then today I was gonna hopefully just sit down and watch the whole event. And I have contractors that work for me doing my house, and they decided they were going to come finish up and do their final touches today, which was fantastic to have reciprocating saws, drills right in the background as I'm, trying to do my work and such. So,
That's always
yeah.
fun.
So-
I'm enjoying a beer now, and I'm finally relaxed. So,
So were those highlights you were actually watching the fight just were in and out of a blackout last night?
horrible. I got the fight pass, so I checked out those two, and then I'm like, okay, got to get out, get to the bar, have some wings, have some beer, show up at a place with my friends. Their Wi-Fi isn't working. They can't get the channel. They have no idea what Fox Sports 1 is. It was just a nightmare.
Poor Canadians.
I know. Hey, except for last night, we showed up big for the our Canada versus Australia Ultimate Fighter. We worked the guy pretty bad. We beat him in the first round, so that's 1-0 Canada versus Australia. So we'll show those guys.
Sugar,
Spoiler
did you see that
alert.
one?
Spoiler alert, I didn't watch it.
Neither did I.
my bad, my man.
All good. No,
There's,
but
there's a new tough going on.
Yeah, just started last night, Canada versus Australia. So.
Oh man, I tried to watch that last night. I don't know what those camera shots were that they were doing, but it was making me nauseous. I'm like, I felt like I was tripping trying to watch that because it was like just staggering. It was like a stagger motion as they were filming, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
I don't
Well,
like
maybe
it
they're
when
looking
formats
for-
change. Unless it's an improvement, I don't like it when formats change.
Oh, it was
Stick with the good stuff. Yeah.
The worst camera work I've ever seen. I couldn't even watch it. I had to shut it off.
Looking
Wow.
for a new audience,
Wow.
I guess.
Yeah. Who knows now? It seems just with all the bizarre things that's going on, they really are trying to reach out to a larger, more diverse audience and get people that maybe not necessarily were fight fans before, perhaps. So.
Well, they were trying to go with that new camera style that they have where the camera is jumpy and jittery and they're moving around a lot. You know,
No, that makes me sick, man. I can't watch that.
yeah, it's like, what
I'm
the
glad
fuck?
you warned me about that.
Why would you film a fight sequence like that? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it makes it like you're being a part of it without you're just getting nauseous in that sense of literally being a part of the fight without being a part of it. It's
Yeah,
You
it was
guys
so
making it sound like a Blair Witch
unprofessional, man.
Project. I don't
Yeah.
like it.
I have not heard one good thing about that actually since they started doing that camera, and that's it's a Fox thing,
yeah.
and I have not heard one good thing about it. So there you go. Here's 5 more people that don't like it. So
yeah.
I mean, I think Tough has pretty much got its tombstone already picked out and everything. It just needs the engravings put in.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people say that, but I watch
Yeah.
every year. I mean, I don't know if I'm
I
going to watch
hope
this
not.
season,
We're the
but-
hardcore fans, though. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
don't make up the kind of demographic they're trying to reach. They know
Yeah.
we'll watch,
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily going to save their show.
yeah.
No.
No, I
And
hope
didn't
I
even
hope
watch,
not.
So here we go.
I think it's a great method for how they're doing it and stuff, and even in that aspect of getting the fighters ready for that media attention that they're bound to receive if they get that UFC contract. I think it's a great format. So hopefully
I mean,
there's still room for it in the future.
Well, we went way off topic on that,
Yes.
so
My bad. That was me. My bad.
all right, let's move on from that one since nobody actually saw it. It was a great fight, guys. John Moraga versus Dustin Ortiz.
That's
Moraga
right.
won by split decision, as we said earlier. Okay, and then going on to the next fight, Cole Miller versus Sam Cecilia. Miller earned the submission of the night and a $50,000 bonus for that one, and that was by rear naked choke in round 2 at 154. Damn, I did not think he was going to stand up and strike on the feet the way that he did, and he looked pretty damn good. Did you guys see that one?
I certainly did. We've seen Cole Miller stand up and strike like that before. You know, the Ross Pearson fight.
Yeah,
It's almost the same exact story. You know. What's that?
Yeah.
You were saying that in the prediction show.
Yep, and you know, look what happened.
Yeah, and he looked damn good at it too, didn't he?
He did.
And it wasn't only
Got
the
the
first
submission
round
and
he did it,
everything.
he did it in the second round until he found a chance to take the submission.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Miller is, you know, he's hardly, you know, a world-beating lightweight. Or is this featherweight now we're talking about? Is he featherweight now? Yeah, I mean, you know, he's not going to challenge for the title anytime soon that I know of. But you know, on any given night, he can put it together. You know, sometimes, you know, like the Matt Wyman fight, it's kind of like, you know, what did I just watch when he's performing? But you know, he's, you know, this case in point against Cecilia, what he's capable of.
Yeah,
Dana
well,
White.
he did utilize that big reach advantage that we were speaking about. So apparently
Absolutely.
he knows how to use that.
Yeah. Dana White was damn impressed with Cole Miller's performance, though. He was calling him a beast afterwards.
Well, he
Yeah, he
looked
looks
good,
great.
man, no doubt about it.
Looks really strong, you know.
Well, I called it right to a T, even submission of the night. So that was that was one of the rare ones I had last night. So that was a treat, I guess. But he's going to be a lot more of a serious fighter now, from what my understanding is. So I think we're actually going to see more out of him. And with what Dana White was saying, so I think we could actually see Cole Miller make his own, you know, title run here coming up.
I was a little worried for him in the first round, though, because he did take a couple of big shots in round 1, and I was like, holy shit, what is he doing?
Yeah, his boxing defense
he
is never
recovered from that, and then he dominated the striking in the first round and followed into the second. So
Yeah, I wasn't surprised he stood up with Sam, because he even, like you guys said, Ross Pearson, and he went 3 rounds on the feet with Nam Fan. So this guy likes to stand and bang. He likes to stand and bang, and I picked him for second round submission because Sam Cecilia, all he has is that overhand right, and Cole did get hit with it a couple of times in the first, like Rich mentioned, but I think Cole Miller is going to be like a Joe Lozon of the featherweight division. I don't think he's going to be able. Yeah, he's not going to be able to beat like the top 5, the top 10, but he might be in the UFC until he retires because he's always going to be able to pick up wins here and there.
yeah, and then when you look at his record with all those submissions that he has, it's so deceiving to see that. But what he does is he utilizes that striking to, you know, find a weakness when the guy goes to the ground, and then boom, he's on top of that man and putting in the submission move immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some grappling chops, but yeah, we saw for sure that he can strike. I mean, and I liked, you know, he clearly adjusted after he got popped with that right hand a couple times, as you said. You know, it's definitely something to be said when a fighter can make in-fight adjustments like that, you know. We've seen plenty of times when fighters can't. And in this game, you just have to be able to do that, you know. No matter what your game plan is coming in, you got to be ready to make changes, you know, in your corner as well if you're gonna excel.
Yeah, he clearly has the tools to do that, and he showed that last night, no doubt.
Yeah, and like I had said in the prediction show that, you know, it being one-dimensional like that could be a bad thing, but obviously it also could be a good thing because you got fighters expecting one way of fighting and then you come out another way, and you know, it's definitely one of those things. It can be a bad thing, it can be a plus, or it can be a minus. But you know, obviously he came out and he worked over Cecilia. I missed that fight.
He's feeling really confident too because again, in the post-fight presser, he was calling out David Cowboy Cerrone, and he even offered to foot the bill to fight Cerrone so Cerrone could cut weight and you know, the matchup could be made. So I guess he's feeling really confident. He's willing to pay for the trainer to help him lose the weight to fight.
Guess
that'd be a fight I'd watch.
Yeah, it'd be a fight I'd watch, but I like Cerrone.
Okay, any other comments before we move on?
Yeah, really quick before we get off this topic, who would you four of you, who would you guys favor in a Conor McGregor versus Cole Miller matchup?
Wow.
Oh, McGregor.
Ooh, that is a tough one.
His style is he's explosive. I can't wait to
He
see
just
more.
had surgery for an ACL or something, didn't he?
Yeah, but he's supposed to come back in
yeah.
May, so
Well, we'll see how he adjusts to that. Cruz didn't do too well after that.
But, you
Yeah,
know,
I've never seen Conor McGregor face anybody that has any kind of submission game. So I don't know how fair he would do against that myself. Plus, I mean, the height and reach thing between McGregor and Miller would I imagine be quite a huge issue. But like I said, I've never ever seen McGregor go against anyone that has anywhere near the submissions that Miller does.
How
So
many fights does McGregor have in the UFC now?
2. But actually, one of his losses back in Europe came against a submission guy. So that's a big question mark there.
I mean, that's the way I see the fight.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I'd be definitely favor Miller at this point.
Anderson Silva also lost to a submission back in Pride too.
Oh,
so,
Rio Chonin with the flying lotus lock. One of the greatest submissions I've ever seen. Ever.
Yeah. Easily.
Ever.
Even the best can get submitted at
that one gives me goosebumps thinking about it because the whole fight, me and buddies were watching it. The whole fight, Rio was getting worked, and Rio Chonin, who just recently retired, actually, he's just, this guy is fearless. He goes in there and he wished that there was a thing in his contract that says he doesn't want the fight stopped until he's almost dead. But that was one of the greatest comeback fights I've ever seen. And just to see the way he did it, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's phenomenal.
It's classic MMA. Must see.
Yeah, it really is. It really, really is. So.
Okay, guys, let me wrap this one up here and tell how everybody went ahead, saw this one unfolding. Wes went with Miller by sub and 2, 10 points. Damon went with Cecilia by decision, 0 points. David went with Miller by sub and 2, 10 points. And I also went with Miller by sub and 2 for 10 points.
I should have got bonus points for calling it sub of the night, though.
You needed brownie points after
I know, I did. We were joking last night, me and Rich. I'm like, dude, I sucked bad. But, it is what it is. We have off nights.
That's why I told you. I have that saying. Even when I'm 100% certain of a fight outcome, I'm only 75% sure. And of that, there's a 50-50 shot that I'm right.
It made me smile last night, actually, and just made me remember, you know what? It is still a guessing game.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Sugar, how did you have that one?
Sub in 2 by Miller.
Okay, so most of us went with sub and 2 on that one. I think we were all expecting a sub, no doubt.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping for the overhand to actually connect.
It almost did. Well, it connected, but...
Yeah, twice. I saw it twice when he was hit with it, but his best just wasn't good enough last night.
That was a heart pick.
Okay, and the one that they had mixed up on the main card with the Moraga bout was this one here. They had this one on the main card when I set up the last show. It was Charlie Brenneman versus Beneil Dariush. We went ahead and we gave our predictions on that one, thinking that it was a main card fight, but apparently it was the undercard fight. The first, was that the first fight of the night or the second?
It was the very first.
Yeah.
Well, they showed it on the end of the broadcast, though, so we still got to see it.
Yeah. Right, so that one there, Beneil Dariush won by rear naked choke submission in round 1 at 145. And man, oh man, that was pretty impressive. And Wes was the only one that actually got that one correct. He went with Dariush by TKO on 2. He got 4 points. And
it's almost a TKO. Come on,
David
man.
And I went with Brenneman by decision. We got 0.
How did you popped him good.
Just throw a couple more punches, man. Don't get the choke. Come on, let me get the points.
Yeah, when we do the predictions, I have that tendency to do that as well. It's like, oh shit, I picked sub. Don't fucking knock him out.
He clocked him too. When he clocked him like that, I thought I was golden.
Yeah. Oh, The look on Brenneman's face when he popped him was priceless. He had no idea where that punch came from. None. It was just all of a sudden, bap. And
it was right down the pipe, too.
Yeah,
know?
right down the pipe and sat him on his ass.
Sugar, how did you go on
Great
that
punch.
Yeah, man, I went with Brenneman, but apparently this other guy is like a really accomplished grappler, so I probably should have gone with him.
Yeah, Brenneman's just, he's not going to cut it in the UFC, I don't think. I think, like I said in the pre-fight show, I think we've seen the best of him. And plus, I don't know if I told you guys this already, but he was actually my brother's best friend's assistant wrestling coach at East Stroudsburg State, and this kid, a good friend of mine, said Brenneman's kind of a jerk, so I'll never pick him in a fight.
Well, he'll probably. I mean, he was just coming back after he was cut from the UFC, right?
Yeah, well, the UFC tends to do that, especially now that they have so much card space to fill. If you're a guy who's had some fights in the UFC, even if you got cut, they'll give you a shot. I mean, Brenneman might get cut again after this, but who knows in the future if he gets a couple more wins on the regional circuit, he might get another nod for a UFC fight. Who knows?
Did he fight elsewhere when he was cut from the UFC, or?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I think he racked up a couple wins on the regional circuit.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. I think he's gonna get another shot at it though, because since this was a short notice fight, I think he's gonna get another crack at it.
Wouldn't be surprised, but it's also the lightweight division. There's so many up and comers in that division. It's so packed with talent right now. Wouldn't shock me either if they either way. Wouldn't shock me if they cut him either. But it was a short notice fight, so who knows?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more comments on that one? Because I do want to speak about GSP. Any more comments before we move on?
Dariush looked damn impressive. Like I was saying, he looked like he had a pretty sloppy stand-up, and everything about him looked tight last night, actually. It was it was an impressive performance for sure.
Okay, and did we want to speak about any of the other undercard fights?
I think we're good.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Edit.
Okay, I'll go ahead and wrap that event up then here.
Actually, you need to loop that. You need to loop that for like.
Okay, here's how things are looking after our first round of predictions. First place, Rich Davie, 5-2 with 41. Second place, David Gazelle, 4-3, 31. Third place, Wes Fiorentino, 4-3 with 28. And fourth place, David Petruic went 3-4 with 24. We didn't get Sugar's picks in on this one, but we'll get them in on the next show. Okay, final thoughts. What?
Coming for the top. Hopefully I don't have to go through Michael Bisping to get there.
You're calling him out too now?
Hey, man.
I went and played bingo last night after the fights, and I heard some lady call out Bisping when she got bingo. It was crazy.
Yeah, I walked by a Pee Wee football game today, and I heard the kids who won to say something about calling out Michael Bisping.
There you go. Everyone.
All right, let's quickly do the final thoughts here. I'm going to go through a little bit of a monologue here for a brief moment trying to explain what's going on with GSP. I know there are a lot of people that don't agree with what transpired with GSP, and some people are taking GSP's side, some people are taking DFW's side and UFC side, but from the post-event presser last night, GSP had a few comments recently as to why he decided to retire, and he's now claiming that it had something to do with the UFC's stance on drug testing, PEDs, TRT, and a couple of other issues as well.
I didn't read this.
When he was asked about this at the post-fight presser, DFW was not too pleased about the way George had decided to go about handling things. He stated that George actually needed to man up, pick up the phone, speak to him man to man if he wants to discuss things that he's not happy about with the UFC. DFW's position was that the GSP wanted to do extra drug testing to prove that he wasn't on drugs, and that GSP and Hendricks never actually came to an agreement on how and what they were going to do in regard to the testing. So it was an open issue that was never resolved, and that both men were going to be tested by the NSAC anyway because it was a championship fight, and the UFC actually pays for the drug testing that's administered by the NSAC. George also stated that the UFC is too lenient on drug testing, to which DFW replied that when the UFC acts as the athletic commission in cities, states, or countries that don't have an athletic commission, the UFC actually tests every single fighter on the card, from the prelims to the main event. In addition to those lenient comments, DFW brought up the instance with Bigfoot getting popped recently, where the UFC actually tested the fighters for that event, and Bigfoot was tested positive, not so much for testosterone or PEDs, but at elevated levels of testosterone. The UFC actually stripped him of his win money, stripped him of the night bonus money, and the extra bonus money that the guys earned that night. Because if you guys recall, they all got an extra $75,000 that night, and he was also suspended for a year. All right, and DFW also went on to say that Belfort, Bigfoot, and any of the other fighters who are known to be on TRT get tested throughout their training camp, and the UFC also pays for those tests as well. DFW also thinks that GSP's comments are related to George not being happy that DFW stated publicly that he thought Hendricks won the fight, and DFW thinks that the whole situation is a little weird. GSP also stated that the UFC is a monopoly, which is untrue, because in the post-fight presser, DFW brought up the comment that Viacom is actually backing another MMA organization, and that, of course, is Bellator. And Viacom actually has $40 billion worth of market cap, and for those of you who don't know what that means that the company is worth $40 billion in stock shares alone. And from what I understand, the Zuffa organization is only worth about $2 billion. So, that monopoly argument really doesn't hold up. And DFW also went on to say that Lorenzo Fertitta actually tried to contact GSP after he made the decision to retire, and that George has not responded to that effort, according to DFW. And finally, DFW stated that when GSP gave his reasons for wanting to step away from MMA for a while prior to his most recent comments, that TRT, PEDs, and drug testing were not mentioned at all for, for the reason for him wanting to take time off. He actually said he needed to take time off for a series of personal issues that were in his life. And I don't know, guys, but to me personally, this sounds like a convenient excuse, and I think he's, simply trying to save face by distracting from the fact that he retired because he hasn't looked or performed, as well as he has in the past. And, again, before coming in back to fighting after that injury, he was throwing out the idea he was only looking for one more fight, and then he wanted a super fight. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that whole thing?
Looks like a classic. I was going to say, it looks like a classic case of an athlete, biting off more than he can chew in terms of just opening his mouth about something that he clearly doesn't know enough about.
Exactly.
Actually, there is an interview with GSP, and I believe it's Ariel Helwani, where this was actually before 167.
Yeah, that was the pre UFC 167 interview that Ariel Helwani did with GSP.
He pretty much said the same thing that he did about the PEDs, that other than the monopoly. He didn't mention the monopoly thing, but pretty much what he said.
His main complaint in that video was he was bitching and complaining because he wasn't getting the support that he wanted.
Yeah, I kind of believe that the UFC, they say they do test these guys in their camps and stuff. Then how are a lot of these guys actually failing tests before and after fights, but not during training camps? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, because DFW actually explained during the post-fight presser. I don't know if any of you guys watched that. Did any of you guys watch the post-fight presser?
Nah, I missed that.
I missed it.
Okay, it was very informative, especially when DFD extensively covered GSP's issues. And you could tell that the other fighters were a little perturbed at that because they were all not happy when the primary focus of the post-fight presser was GSP.
Yeah.
Was a guy who doesn't even fight anymore, let alone fighting on the card.
Yeah, but he went over that extensively, and he spoke about and addressed all of those things. And, he did mention that, in the case of Bigfoot, they did test him throughout training, and that he was on point with all of his levels for the testosterone, as would be expected, because if you're a TRT user, as DFW said, you're going to be tested throughout your training camp, and you're not going to push the limits and go above and beyond. And then what happened, according to DFW, is that he was tested a week before the fight. And contrary to what Bigfoot said his coach advised him, well, not his coach, his doctor advised him 2 weeks prior to the fight that his levels were good. And DFW is saying that he was tested a week before the fight and his levels were good. And then apparently right after he was tested, he went and took another shot, and that raised his testosterone levels above and beyond the acceptable level. So it showed up post-fight. So I guess that's how they get away with it. They're actually, hoping to get that one more shot of juice and hopefully cycle off before the fight. So.
Well, this isn't the first time with Bigfoot, so it gets a little sympathy from me.
I don't know. I gotta jump in here in GSP's defense, guys, because go back and look at the UFC 167 post-fight press conference. Dana White is basically bashing GSP without actually bashing him, and there he is, GSP sitting next to him, like he looks like he's been in a car wreck, and here's a promoter fucking basically bashing him.
I don't remember. How was he bashing him?
Go watch it, dude. It's like a 20-minute rant about Dana White just basically he's all he's saying is GSP Hendricks won the fight and that the Nevada State Athletic Commission is in the fault. But dude, like how are you gonna belittle your champion that's been fighting for you for basically a decade? You're just gonna bash on him like that? I mean, go watch it, dude. It's so hostile.
He did.
Doesn't really surprise me from Dana White, to be honest.
He did stick to instead of just mentioning it and drawing attention to the fact of the judging in Nevada, he totally just kind of stuck to it and kept coming back to it, and it was just in that way I can see that point of it being.
Well, I guess also you guys might be forgetting that there was a fucking uproar in the MMA community right after that fight, and Twitter blew up.
Oh yeah.
With not only fans but professional MMA fighters in the UFC all saying that there's no way GSP won that fight, and the best you could give GSP.
I scored it for Hendricks, but my point is GSP's been fighting for this organization for 10 years. Then Dana White wants to be a dick towards him because he thinks the other guy won the fight.
Well, that's why we lovingly call him DFW.
It's about
I love his bluntness,
Yeah.
guys. I love his bluntness, but clearly GSP looks like a sensitive guy. I'm not surprised he's doing all these interviews now.
There's bluntness, and then there's Dana White. I think we can all agree on that.
And you got GSP also is a trustworthy guy. I can believe what he says. He's not one of those guys that goes out and makes excuses all the time.
Well, I mean that was the controversy. These two guys, it was GSP. This all goes back to the VADA testing, and the two guys couldn't come to an agreement.
Yeah.
Apparently, Big Rig didn't have the money to pay for the testing because it was above and beyond what the UFC wanted to do, or what the athletic commissions wanted to do. And yeah, I mean, GSP being a millionaire, he could probably afford, from what I understand, $20,000 for the test.
It's easy to kind of say that too. When you have that kind of money, and then call the other fighter out, I should say, for not wanting to do the test. The old Floyd Mayweather excuse.
Yeah.
But
he still fought him though. I mean, but
exactly. But
yeah, but how can you blame a guy for not wanting to take $20,000 out of his pocket to fucking please you?
Oh, definitely not. That's
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the fighter's responsibility.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's the athletic commission and the UFC's job for a reason, right? I mean, do we want fighters to be in control of that kind of thing?
But they don't pay for it. The UFC pays for the testing, even if the athletic commissions do the testing.
I think if the UFC would have actually forced him to do the test and paid for it, I don't think we'd really be talking about it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, look, GSP saying that. I mean, I think it's more than just him actually legitimately being concerned about the testing. I think it's kind of a calculated move at one level or another. Like what you said, Rich, about him being able to afford it and other fighters not. I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, at this point in time, I've seen one too many heartbreakers of guys testing positive in every sport for me to ever be surprised again about any particular fighter testing positive for steroids.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when it comes to calling out other fighters for not agreeing to testing, when the bottom line, it comes to the dollars in their pocket, I just it just kind of turns me off.
Yeah, you can't fault the man for that.
Yeah, well, also you see a lot of people testing positive for these. You got a championship match, why shouldn't they do these kind of tests way
They've done.
beforehand? I know they're doing right before and right after, but why not? If a champ asks for it, say, hey, I want, let's both
Well,
test.
they are doing random. They're doing random testing now. That's how they call it overeem.
Yeah. Well, I think they
mean,
were going after over him because they wanted to expose him anyways.
Rich, where
Yeah.
did you hear that Hendricks couldn't pay 20,000? Because I thought it was always he just felt like GSP being on the main page of VADA was really sketchy to him.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly.
They put every top-notch athlete on their main page though.
Yeah,
That-
that's
And
what
wasn't it BJ Penn wanted that for one of his fights too at one point? I can't remember. He called out the VADA. He did a shout out to VADA.
For Rory, yeah.
Was it Rory? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And BJ Penn's another very wealthy athlete at this point, where you can make that case, especially when you see the way he fights nowadays. It kind of looks like he's only showing up for a paycheck.
and he doesn't
I don't know.
need the money.
I guess I just have sympathy for GSP. I mean, the stuff he said in these recent interviews aren't that far-fetched.
Well, I just read to you everything that DFW explained away. Everything he said, according to the way that DFW addressed it in the post-fight presser, pretty much invalidates every one of his points.
Yeah, but he also had time too, because like I said, GSP had said this before, and Dana White is looking out for his company, so he's gonna say everything. He's gonna do things differently, maybe to back up his claims. And we all know Dana White to say one thing and do another.
Well,
Exactly.
we all know that the
promoters?
UFC pays for
No.
the testing.
I mean,
So,
but here's
there's
the
no
thing.
disputing that.
Here's the
And
thing,
the way
though.
that they're
Dana White.
addressing fighters who are busted with TRT, we've got examples right there that he laid out for you.
Here's the thing, though. DFW, he lays his cards out when he wants to. He bashes Viacom every other week, but then when it's convenient to him, he's gonna say $40 billion company. Come on, man. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's a $40 billion company, but how much?
No, it is. They own SpongeBob.
Yeah, but
I know that, but how much are they?
How much
actually
money are they
willing
putting into
to-
the promotion is
Yeah,
another issue.
exactly.
I agree with that.
How
And then
much?
one week he's saying that, then the next week he's saying how much they destroy them and how shitty
Exactly.
owner of
They're
Viacom
nobody.
looks. So
Yeah.
honestly, like GSP's statement about UFC being a monopoly, to me, that doesn't seem that far fetched because
Yep. Thank
I mean
you.
obviously when they're buying up organizations, you don't see Bellator or Viacom even making that adventure into even scouting or other organizations or really, I guess, in the aspect of how UFC is trying to grow their brand and the sport.
Well, the UFC has already been investigated, and that's called the Sherman Antitrust Law,
Yeah.
or the Sherman Antitrust Act, and the courts have already found that the UFC is not a monopoly. So,
But
It's
I-
no more
not-
of a monopoly than
but
the NFL is a monopoly.
Exactly. Why
Yeah.
would they be? But that whole aspect of them just to be investigated. That kind of
well,
says
because you
that
got
there was
people
concern.
complaining that they are.
Well, that's what I mean. Exactly. That there was concern in that way that there was a viable reason to actually investigate it. So
they're not. When you look at all
exactly.
UFC
They're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look
But
at all the UFC competitors, you got Bellator.
Well,
World
now
Series of
you can
Fighting.
say that.
Yeah.
In 2013 and 2014, now we could say that because MMA has grown throughout the whole world. But
There's always been MMA organizations out there.
There's
It's just
always
that
been the
you
Prides. There's
buy
always
them
been
up.
the Strike Forces.
And every time they buy
Elite
up an
XCs,
organization, another one pops up.
I mean,
They
they
buy
bought
up the
out like what,
organizations that are already
5
dead.
companies? 5
Yeah.
But
companies.
those organizations were already all on their way out.
Exactly.
I mean,
Pride was dead. Strike Force was basically dead.
yeah, Monopoly, I think maybe he's not, technically speaking, maybe in the actual being able to prosecute him for being a monopoly, but
Yes.
as a monopoly, as in they, if you want to be in the UFC, they're a monopoly to their fighters, saying, go to Bellator. You know what?
Go make
do
nothing.
whatever. I think that's kind of what he's talking about. I mean, if the UFC is as big as they are now, and they want to be like the NFL and the MLB and everything like that, why not allow a fighter union? They've had this talk forever. There's no fighter union. They gave them insurance, but I mean, you've got guys that fight on these cards that make maybe $3,000 for the fight, and that guy can get seriously injured.
Yeah, I'm not a fan for fighter unions because, number one, unions suck because all they do is raise the price and the final bottom line and the cost of everything. And
a fighter union would lead to more expensive pay-per-views, almost no doubt.
Exactly.
I kind of doubt that. They're pulling in tons of money already as it is. They've got all kinds of merchandising and stuff like that. I think the fighters themselves, there's a select few that do make quite a bit of money, but the UFC does bring in money hand over fist. You
but here in the States, unions are notorious for being politically connected and taking union dues and money and investing it in their best interest in whatever politician is going to benefit their union.
Unions are the reason that there's no MMA in New York yet. That's
Exactly.
for sure.
Yeah, but I think a sports union and a work union are two different things. I mean, they're looking out for different things. One's looking to make sure you keep your job. Another's looking to make sure you get paid and
Yeah,
make
but
sure
that's going to have to happen across the board with all of the MMA organizations. You can't just single out the UFC and go, UFC, you got to be a union.
Yeah, I think that would seriously hinder a lot of the smaller organizations as well.
But if the UFC wants to be looked at as like the MLB and the NFL, I think they should unionize and let their fighters come up with union. I mean,
I disagree.
I mean, it looks like they already are. They already are the MLB and the NFL. So I mean,
Just to get back to the GSP thing and just to give my whole thoughts on just what's been said in the last few days. GSP with any professional high level sport, always PEDs are going to be an issue. Then with there being the ultimate showcase of that sport, it being a monopoly, I mean, you could say the NHL is a monopoly, that the NBA or the NFL is a monopoly, even though there are other professional leagues that just because they're the best that they monopolize that sport. I think a lot of it has to do with how GSP. I think he still wants to be seen as the fighter, and that there's I guess a reason why he left the sport and why he didn't want to compete anymore. I think there's that aspect of just being not able to really cope with the fact that he himself wouldn't be able to compete with this next generation of fighter that's coming up.
I think it's more about that. I don't buy the steroids.
Honest to God, I'm looking at these welterweight fighters coming up.
Well, that's three of us that agree.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but should he have ever said that in a public forum? Never, ever. DFW is absolutely right to tear him to shreds, and I hate to say it, George St-Pierre should have kept those comments to himself.
Well, not so much to himself, but he should have handled it behind the scenes. You don't air your dirty laundry in public like that.
You're right.
He was bad to do that. And you guys know this. I told you guys straight off the bat how much I love GSP, and
I remember.
Yeah, and I hate to see things like this because then to me it tarnishes one of my heroes, and I hate that.
I don't think it tarnishes him. It's just it's just one of those moments where an athlete just.
I hope.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we heard that from? Any athlete.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But you got to remember too. There's always going to be like a whistleblower for certain things, and sometimes you need that for things to change. Look at the way the UFC was back when UFC Undisputed 09 came out. They made every fighter in the UFC sign away their likeness for life. And if they wouldn't sign that contract, they were out of the UFC. John Fitch
Yeah,
wouldn't
look what
sign
happened.
it. Yeah, John Fitch wouldn't sign it. He got kicked out of the UFC, and I guess he agreed to it. Finally, he came back, and then he lost a couple fights, and after all that, he still was one of the top ranked fighters. And Dana White's like, well, he's on a downward slide.
Well, there's a couple of
Just gonna
guys
get
who
rid
of
signed
him.
that waiver, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Dana White has enforced that though. There's plenty of guys that were in that video game that are now in the UFC or who have been in the UFC since.
Like who? I mean,
Several guys that were in Strikeforce before.
what I'm saying though is at the time, everybody that was in the UFC at that time had to sign it or they were going to be out of the UFC. And I think the only one.
It's typical Dana White bullying tactics, no doubt.
Exactly. And I think that's what GSP is talking about, the monopoly type thing.
Yeah.
Is the bullying of the fighters.
Well,
yeah, like
that's
this
not really
guy.
a monopoly because, again, that's
No.
a loose.
It's not a monopoly, no.
Like I
It's-
said,
it's a-
man,
it's a bad
GSP is a
term
sensitive
for
guy.
what- Yeah, it's
Can we
a bad
clarify-
term for what's going
Can we
on.
clarify one thing? Did GSP actually? It was GSP that actually used the term monopoly in relation to
Yeah.
UFC.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
funny because that's the.
Well, he's been
organization
doing
that he
kind of
worked
like
for.
Ken Shamrock is doing. He's been going around and giving all sorts of interviews and complaining about the UFC and the PEDs and
I
the
think Ken
monopoly
Shamrock has
aspect.
pretty much lost all sympathy. But it's
Yeah.
just funny to me that GSP would say that about the organization that made him rich. I don't blame him for being mad at Dana White because if you thought GSP lost the fight, that's one thing. But professionals, you just got to be professional, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's the thing. These events, these press events that he's doing are organized. So he's being prepped and he's being told by his management, his representatives. He's being told what to say, guys. That's the horrible nightmare. Is that this is the new GSP thing that's coming out, and it's terrible because that's not the way I want him to be. Now that he's left the sport temporarily, or so he said. This is not the way I want to see his management, his camp, everything be representing.
Well, again, as I said earlier, I think it's all about saving face because GSP is ready to go to that next plateau in his career. We still don't know what that is. Probably going to be commercials and acting and things like that. And, come on, he went out and was bashed by DFW like that. Didn't look good in his last couple of fights.
Yeah.
So I guess they're trying to turn the tide and make, things, it was a bad job of it, but they were trying to smooth things over and make him look a little bit better when he actually looks worse.
And I believe that is the responsibility of his management, not himself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at that at all because how many times in the past do you remember GSP getting on a soapbox like that? Never.
Exact. Never.
It's
Never.
always this is going to be the toughest fight of my life.
Yeah.
It was like the story of a GSP interview.
This is just a recent thing that he started doing, and interestingly enough, if you go back and actually see how his management career has been, this whole Vada Wada thing started when he changed managers, when he fired his old manager.
Yeah, and DFW, you guys need to watch the post-fight presser, man.
I certainly do have to watch it.
Yeah, DFW addressed that too, because he said
really
all throughout his career, GSP never once asked for additional testing.
Yeah.
It was only for the Hendricks bout.
Like I said, I love the guy, and it's just I don't get it, and I'm positive it has to do with this new manager that he's running with. And in Montreal, there's a lot of slicksters, and I hate to say it, but I really do believe that this is poor fighter management, and I hope it really doesn't affect. Yeah.
You got to remember too.
Exactly, Wes. Exactly.
GSP is his own guy, and he's not going to do something the manager tells him to do like that if he doesn't feel that way. I mean, there is some credence to what he's saying. I mean, why would you not say anything about this?
But that's the thing. The manager's the one that advised him to go public with it. That said, we're going public. This is what you're going to say in your public release.
Yeah, GSP isn't booking these shows. He's got management that does that for him.
Yeah. But what I'm saying though is he feels the need to do it.
Yeah, no.
Otherwise
Dana White said it. Dana White said it himself in the post-fight presser. He said, "I heard GSP is mad about the comments I made in the post-fight presser." That's what he said, right?
Yeah,
This is a
He didn't. That's not. He didn't say I heard. It was more like
I
he's
think.
probably. I think it was an I think. Yeah, that's
No.
that's a little bit of a.
I'm pretty sure he
No,
said.
it was an
No,
I.
he
It
didn't
was
say
an
I
I
heard.
think. Yeah, it was an I think thing, not an I heard. It was a definite. Yeah, because if you're looking like for journalistic integrity, if you're looking at those two things, it is a big factor. As someone like giving secondhand news or someone that's just making an opinion. So, like we're doing right now, making opinions. But yeah, Dana White, that was his opinion that GSP was upset.
I think he's probably right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. His whole camp is. I mean, it tarnishes what's a multi-million-dollar brand in the gym, in his whatever he's getting from Affliction. I would guarantee Affliction after that fight with Johnny Hendricks. I guarantee Affliction sales went down. Guaranteed.
Yeah, we don't even know what his next move is because in that video, that interview that Damon mentioned earlier, the pre-UFC 167 interview, he was saying, oh, well, maybe after the Hendricks fight, I'll let you know about what these big plans are. And Ariel kept pushing him for it, but he never would come straight away and say, this is what's happening. So
and hints at a super fight and all that stuff.
Obviously, whatever that next step was, he feels that now he probably needs to repair whatever damage to his image was caused from the Hendricks bout. And that's probably what it's all about. Not so much the PEDs.
I'm losing you.
You know, because all those excuses he used were shot down by DFW.
Yeah. And honestly, I can say for the UFC, I'm glad to see actually the way Dana White handled it. They are making efforts to clean up sports in like professional sports. It's a tough thing to do. Holy Toledo, the amount of money and the amount of like travel and going to where the fighters are and doing it accurately.
On a fight card, typically there's anywhere between 11 and 13 fights on a card. Okay, so we're talking 22 fighters times $20,000 for each test.
Yeah,
that's big money.
It's huge. So yeah.
Yeah, but if a pay-per-view sales, if the sales are in the millions, $60 million for, you know, 1 million sales and pay-per-views, and that doesn't include all the others that goes with it, you know, all the merchandising.
Yeah, but they don't get all that money. I think what I heard is they get a percentage of that. They don't actually get that money.
No, because they still have to rent out the venue.
Because it has to cover. It had the money that is allocated is to actually cover. I was tested once, and a big honor. I felt very proud to be tested. That they thought I could ever be a performance enhancer or whatever. But it was for field hockey actually, and it's all the money is actually allocated to the service. It's really not profit. So it's allocated to the service that they do and stuff, all the testing, all the people that have to be involved to do it, where they send it, how it's done, everything like that is apparently just the cost of it is literally for the testing.
I still with GSP, I don't think one fight and one presser are going to make him do what he's been doing. Yeah. I mean, if he felt that bad about the Hendricks fight, just retire, you know. I don't see a problem. He could have just retired. But all this coming to light and everything, and all the things with Dana White and everything like that, I mean, there's got to be some credence to it.
But always there is that. I think in professional sports, I think that's something we can all agree on. We're always going to see athletes that test the boundaries with what they can get away with. I think the big issue to me is that I think GSP and his whole camp and management should have just left that all alone and focused on their future.
Especially just in sports in general. I mean, it kind of turns me off to hear athletes getting on the soapbox about PEDs.
And I hate to hear it.
Just, you know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're all doing it. You know what I mean? It's just, one too many times I got burned. You know, I mean, name one athlete in the world that you would really honestly be surprised, you know, that they got tested. I mean, pardon me.
I was a hell of an athlete, and I never went anywhere with it. And kids that I knew, they certainly did, and certainly seemed to grow a lot faster than I did in high school.
Yeah. Yeah,
So.
it's a shame to see GSP doing what he's doing now, but I mean, I do think both sides have legit points and everything. It's
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
Hell, there was a time I thought GSP was using it.
yeah,
Just from how much more physically dominant and how he looked compared to all the other athletes in the welterweight division. Like
So
him
you don't
stepping
think he's
in there
ever?
with.
You don't think?
the big
You don't think
nipples.
he's ever done it?
Oh
you
no,
don't think
that's
he's
what I'm
ever
saying. I thought he did. That's when I would see him step in there against like Matt Serra and Matt Hughes. I'm like, huh.
I mean,
Let's get...
I'm not gonna come out and say that he did it, obviously, because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna slanderize him or anything. But I mean, come on, especially in MMA, there's no fighter you can point me to and say that he'd never done PEDs.
Yeah, no, I always question, and especially with what we've seen in the past. And I'm a fan like you, Wesley. I hate to hear it, but it is a reality in sports. But I don't think any athlete should ever be talking about the promotion that they are with or were with. They should just leave that alone. Leave it to the media. Leave it to the actual people.
That's a whole new issue. We're obviously
that
talking
are
about two
doing
issues
it.
here.
Yeah,
It turns me off too, because I didn't like when Rampage did it either, and I know I got shit for it, but I was a Rampage fan. But man, he really turned me off when he started talking.
Come on, man, who wasn't a Rampage fan back in the day? You kidding
he was
me?
great.
Oh man, talk about exciting.
Oh, did I ever want to see that Rampage Ortiz fight that Bellator was supposed to do? I wanted to see that.
I mean, let's be honest. Even now, I think Rampage puts it on Tito Ortiz pretty badly.
Wouldn't that have been great to see?
And then cue the Tito Ortiz injury excuse at the end. Oh, I've got a cracked skull. Oh, my neck.
Oh, my neck. Yeah, it was his neck this last time. It was his neck.
Do you guys remember the cracked skull one? Do you remember when he said he had a cracked skull? I can't remember what fight that was, but oh man, that was a classic. That was classic Ortiz right there.
Well, at least he can get into drunk driving accidents while his neck is healing. That's good for him.
Well,
while he's doing that Rampage, he's going on a vehicular manslaughter run too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he did have that.
It's quite the way.
I mean, who's got a big ass truck like that with your own name and picture on it?
Dude, that truck! Oh my god! When you saw the picture of him on the ground, like face down on the ground. Oh man, I'll never forget that. That truck was crazy.
Knowing Rampage, he's probably not smart enough. He probably would have tried to rob a bank with that damn thing.
It's possible.
Why do you think he was on the run?
Get into a fight with it. That wasn't my car. Well, whose could it have been, Rampage?
It's a fan.
Got your face all over the side of it.
It's kind of good.
It's a fan. Who's got that kind of...
Have you seen the interviews with Rampage? And any woman reporter that ever interviews him, he humps them.
Yeah, humps him or motorboats him.
Yes.
What's the one woman's name? The high-profile reporter.
Olivia.
Karen Bryant.
Yeah, Karen Bryant. Thank you. Yeah, I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, he
She
motorboated
didn't really
her.
seem to complain, but who knows,
Well,
It wasn't an actual motorboat, but it was a simulated motorboat.
Yeah.
I'm sure she was pretending not to mind.
It was a testing the waters without actually wet.
Without actually taking your boat on the water.
You couldn't actually motorboat Karen Bryant though, because the cameraman is her husband.
Oh, is it really?
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe he's trying to piss off her husband then.
Oh, stuff just got really awkward there. I guarantee it.
Well, she does the Fox stuff too now, though. So I mean,
she's great.
She's a great.
Yeah, I like her.
She's a great journalist.
Definitely.
What's
she does a good
the
job.
other one on Fox? Megan Olivia, or
oh, she's fucking beautiful.
yeah, he in an interview. She
that
is.
wasn't awkward.
Rampage dry humped her in an interview too. She's sitting there beside him, and all of a sudden he starts just humping her, and she's just like she's smiling and laughing, and I'm just like, wow. I wish I could get away with stuff like that in general public, just grab a hot lady's leg and start humping it and she smiles.
Well, you can, you're just not Rampage.
Oh,
you just have to be able to count on the fact that you can beat up all the dudes. That's one trump card that Rampage has.
Right? Oh, man. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So wrong.
Okay. Any other comments on that before we wrap things up?
Now let's just hope it goes away. Let's just hope it goes away pretty quick.
Yeah.
Get
I
swept
hope
under
they
the
work
rug.
out their issues. And
Yeah.
again, I'd love
Well, I
to be a
mean, look at it this
fan.
way. I
I
mean,
know,
you know, who
if I
remembers
say something
Greasegate? You know,
against them, it doesn't mean I don't like them. Again,
Yeah.
you know, if I see it, I call it. And
Yeah.
love GSP, but
Hey,
yeah,
and
you can
thank you
disagree with
guys
an
for
athlete or
showing the
anyone
love.
and still like
Whenever
them.
in a room full of Americans, I hear the name GSP called out, I'm ready. I'm like, all right, what's gonna happen? But no, thank you guys for showing him the love and respect too. That means a lot to me as well. So
I mean, he's earned it over the years, man. Come
yeah,
on.
no,
He's
thank you
always-
very much. That's
he's always
awesome.
been a stand-up guy, so
That's awesome. Thank you guys. That's awesome. That
Probably-
brings a big
I mean-
smile to my face tonight. So.
Top 2 fighters of all time. I mean, I think
Aw,
we can
man,
agree.
that's
Between
no,
him and Silva?
absolutely. It's
Well,
tough,
Americans
right?
are really like other MMA fans. I mean, we don't particularly root for the hometown guy or the American. You know, we'll pretty much go for whoever the better
Yeah.
fighter is, or better.
yeah, we
better
just want to see a
wrestler is,
knockout or a
That's-
submission.
I gotta say that's what I've and I think for Canadians because all we had was GSP, so we kind of had to make him our guy and just back him without saying boo. And I always hope he just represents us and represents himself so positively. So yeah, it's always tough for me when his name comes up, but I always try to keep my love for him reserved and just kind of go with the facts. And I can say he was wrong with saying what he said. It's just it's bad. That should have been
I still love the guy.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah,
I
he's
just,
great.
I just think he got bullied by Dana White. That's what I think, man.
I do too. And if you look at the last show we just did, I mean, we were all singing his praises, and now
Yeah.
we're, you know, over a course of 3 days or whatever. Now
Got heated there, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's
I still love him to death, but I mean, I
It's MMA,
I
you know.
think
Give it,
he's
you
got
know,
that.
till the weekend.
you
Somebody
know
else will
what?
say something stupid, and we'll be talking about it.
Right? And I'm going to give credit now to this, actually, as being people that, like us, and I mean, Rich there, I mean, with MMA 20 years ago to MMA now, I mean, we have so much that's on our plate as being people that would, I guess, articleize or do commentating or just what we're doing right now and making predictions. There is so much out there. It's phenomenal. It's so great.
Side note, Rich, I take it your wife's not back yet?
Incorrect.
Oh! how many points would I have gotten for getting that right?
I would have given you 10 for that.
Nice.
she's probably behind him, still horrified from Sugar Poopers. She's so beautiful.
Not about the motorboater thing, just the she's so beautiful thing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
The way you said it, and the look in the
I have
It
a
was
crush
quite
on Megan
exclamated, I'm
Olivia.
going to
so
say.
beautiful.
I have a crush on Megan Olivia. I'll see it right now.
Yeah, that was
How
a,
could
Yeah,
you
we
not?
noticed.
I mean, this is
that
a
was
chick
a
Nothing wrong with that,
sentiment
man.
full of lust.
MMA, right? And she's into it, so I mean, you're going on a date with her, you'd have so much to talk about.
Well, I see her hanging around with
man.
a bunch of fighters, so.
There you go.
Well, then hopefully she knows how to triangle choke you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Precisely.
Okay,
Sugar
any other
Pooper's
comments
still
on
thinking that one over.
Definitely.
Okay, I just want to say thoughts and prayers go out to Kat Zingano and her family and her
Yeah.
son.
Sad.
Unfortunately, her husband is no longer with us. He passed over the weekend there. I'm not quite sure exactly what the story is, but that's a shame.
Terrible news, you know?
Yeah.
Have you guys heard anything else on that? Would you like to?
I've been trying to follow to see if there's anything, and there's nothing that's been released as to cause or anything like
Just
that
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 he
I've
passed.
seen. So just that
What-
he
what
passed,
I-
yeah.
What I've heard, I don't want to talk about because I want to respect Kat Zagano and her family.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hearsay at this point as well. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's sometimes it's how they, especially how they denote it, especially if it's like tragically or suddenly, and how they denote it when they make the statement, stuff like that is kind of an indicative statement. But yeah, just much respect to their family and
Yeah,
love. And
I want to wish them like you
Of course.
the
Absolutely.
best, and hopefully they can get through this.
absolutely.
and
Your heart
Sugar, I
goes
know
out to
you're a
them when
big
that
fan
happens,
of
you know?
Kat because you're the one that actually turned me on to Kat Zingano. So I know you must have something to say.
Yeah, I've been a fan of this girl since day one, and sad news to hear, really. I mean, that's all I have to say, really. My thoughts and prayers go out to the Zingano family, and I hope everyone's going to be all right this upcoming year.
Okay, guys. Any other comments before we go?
Just that I got to run and get some food here.
Yeah, me too. I'm starving.
It was great getting together with you, gentlemen.
Yeah, this was only supposed to be a 15 to 30-minute show, and we're an hour and a half in.
You're gonna
This
have a lot
group
of
has got a lot to say.
You're gonna have a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, I'm just
We're a
going to leave
bunch
it
of
all
big
in.
mouths.
That's it.
It
Are we
might,
doing
it
the
might
Henderson
actually work
Thompson
better.
fight?
What's that?
Are we doing the Henderson Thompson fight?
Yeah, I was going to just say that I don't know what day it's going to be that we'll do that, but for those who don't know, we're going to do another prediction show for the UFC on Fox 10, Henderson versus Thompson. That's taking place on Saturday, January 25th. All you guys are welcome to join me, and we'll go ahead and we'll do the predictions for that one too. You guys in on that?
Excellent.
Yeah,
I
Look
am.
forward to it.
I need to redeem myself. It was a poor outing for me. I am coming back in a fury, gentlemen. You better watch out, all y'all.
All right, guys. Thanks again for showing up. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We'll say goodbye. Say goodbye to everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Good night,
Wes,
Justin.
Rich, Sugar Pooper. Good to meet you, Sugar Pooper.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yo, excellent. Take
so
care, my
beautiful.
friend. She's so beautiful. That's the
Megan
line of the
O'Leary,
week.
get at me.
That is the line of the week. Awesome. Take care, gentlemen, and everybody have a really
Take
good
it
night.
easy.
All right, guys. Good night.
Yeah. Later.
Bye-bye.
Too much for me.